Hey there, and welcome to this episode of ChetChat. I know all of you like to go to Canada to study, and you're thinking, how do I get those part-time jobs when I'm an international student, and how do I cover up some of my living expenses? So our guest on the show today is A.G. Ramakrishna, who spent over 18 years at the Citigroup, and the past 2 years he's been with InstaRem as the country manager of their India operations. Now, AGR has, with InstaRem, seen all the remittances that you and your families are making to various international cities, including Canada. So we've invited him to the show today to tell us everything that you want to know about getting part-time jobs in Canada as international students. So AGR, welcome to ChetChat, and thank you for inviting us to this lovely office.
Yeah, thank you and welcome to ChetChat.
And you know, this topic about part-time jobs for international students in Canada is so hugely important because about 500,000 students are going into Canada to study now, international students. And the cost of living, I believe, is anything between $10,000 to, going up to about $15,000 maybe. So talk about the landscape, the part-time job landscape in Canada today for international students.
To begin with, the Canadian government, the international education strategy was to get about 450,000 students into Canada by 2022.
Right.
However, 2017 itself, they have crossed almost 500,000, 497, which was an increase of 20% over 2016.
Wow.
So you can see the kind of demand and inflow happening into Canada.
Yes, it's a hugely popular destination for students.
Yes, and if you look at the visa application, they typically say you need about $10,000, all Canadian dollars when we speak,
right.
as the living expenses. But some of the universities, the living expenses go up. To give you an example, University of Montreal, the average living expense for housing, food, course material, phone calls, and miscellaneous expenses is about $15,000. And if you say University of British Columbia, they have an additional $900 per year for the health insurance.
Oh my God, okay.
So that may be the primary reason why students are looking for part-time jobs to cover up the living expenses.
Cost of living, yes. So let's look at the regulatory aspect of it, the visa, the student visa that they go with. How many hours a week, for instance? What is the regulation on how much can they work? And what about the work permit, etc.? Could you take us through some of that?
Yeah, sure. If you have a student visa, you are okay to work for 20 hours per week.
Right.
On the campus. And if you are looking for an off-campus kind of a job, you can still allowed up to 20 hours per week.
Okay.
However, you need to have a work permit, which will be available only after 6 months of being a freshman year.
Okay, so once they go on the student visa, they can work from day one, 20 hours a week, provided they work on campus.
In campus, the roles.
Okay, and if they want to work off campus, they need a work permit.
Right.
Which you're saying is available only after 6 months. And the sum total of their on-campus and off-campus work together should be 20 hours a week?
Correct.
Okay.
They can't cross.
They can't.
Yeah. If they need, they can work full-time during the breaks.
Okay.
The winter break, summer break.
Okay.
And also spring break.
Okay.
Some universities suggest you work only 12 hours to balance your work and study.
Right.
Because you have, intense courses. For that, they suggest to do it about 12 hours. And 20 is capped by
20
regulation.
is the peak. I know. It's, we keep talking about what is the maximum amount that they can do, but you're absolutely right that, they've got this intensive curriculum. Should they really be doing those 20 hours or should they be limiting themselves? But it's good to know that they can do 20 hours during the tenure of the program. And you're saying in the holidays they can do full-time.
Full-time.
Full-time is what, 40 hours a week?
Yeah, it's for 8 hours per day.
Okay.
So it's 40 hours per week.
40 hours a week. Okay, excellent. Now, before we come to how much they're going to be paid before that, let's talk about the nature of the jobs that they are sort of doing typically.
So the on-campus is the most relevant to them and easily doable by the students.
Right.
Example would be the administrative officers.
Yes.
They need clerks, they need receptionists.
Yes.
They can help there.
Yes.
They can also help in the university campus bookstores,
libraries, yes,
even in the restaurant,
yes,
they
the
can
coffee
be
shop.
coffee shops. And of late, there are new things coming in wherein they can be research assistants, helping the professors, or even work in the laboratory as a technician. So these are the kind of jobs.
Yes, and even in the IT department, I'm sure there's some web, security work that they might need to do, etc.
So this is a new trend which is starting, where the institute gets a project, and the professors typically give it to their students to work on it, and as a result, they get a stipend. Apart from this, students on their own, they don't come into this 20-hour cap. They directly work into the online games, the testing of it, or design a web which they can do sitting in their hostel room. Need not be counted under the 20 hours.
So you're saying that this is an exciting thing you're talking about, where you're saying that apart from those on-campus jobs, so I'll come back to those on-campus jobs. First, the on-campus jobs also are limited by those 20 hours, and these are the kind of jobs that they can do. Now, in addition to this, so you're saying outside of the limit, they can do these part-time freelance jobs online.
Correct. So this is like moonlighting. In the night, they typically take up this and do a freelancing job for different companies overseas.
Like social media marketing, or like you're saying video game testing, etc.
Yeah, web designing.
Interesting.
Those kinds. Typically, there is a instrument SIN which is assigned to each student. And in that they log the hours they have worked. So that's how they track the 20 hours. But I won't recommend students to do this given the work-life balance there. And also there are some who do it on cash basis, which actually is illegal. So I would recommend students not to fall in the trap. Because if the government catches them doing a work and not recorded in the 20 hours and not paying the tax because it doesn't go through a bank, those channels we don't recommend. Otherwise, they can be deported back to India.
Absolutely. No, I'm glad you mentioned that. In fact, we can add an incentive also that, if they're paying taxes, I'm told that all gets counted towards the PR finally. So that's an incentive for them to record the payments, to record all of this legally. And of course, there is, we don't want them to do anything illegal and get caught.
Correct. In that one course which is there, which is co-opt or internship, where they need a work permit, and the job itself is part of the curriculum. So if you have, say, 4 years of undergrad, they will make 1 year additional in between. So that makes it 5 years. And they actually go into a particular corporate and work there. And it would be helpful for their PR.
Excellent. So these are they need to be admitted into those co-op programs. And typically at the end of 3 years, they sort of put 1 year of work experience and then they come back. But you're saying they need a full permit for that entire year.
It needs to be done through work permit. So in addition to the student permit, they need to also have the work permit.
Yes, because they have to have the study permit for the co-op program and the work permit for this 1 year.
1 year.
We were holding on the question on how much do they get paid. We're going to ask you that question later. So AGR, that was a fantastic overview of the on-campus jobs. You also mentioned the online jobs. Now you said 6 months into the program, they can actually go off campus and work, provided they get that work permit.
That's right.
So let's talk about what kinds of jobs they can do when they go out, because that's really the piece that interests them to know. What are the kinds of jobs available for students?
There are various kinds of jobs. They can work in a bank as a cashier. They can work as a customer service representative, even as a sales associate. They can work in restaurants, stores. For instance, in the stores, you need to arrange the merchandise. So they can do that particular activity. They can do ride-sharing drive, just like, they have the Uber and Ola in different parts of the world. That's equivalent. They can also, if they have some technical skills, like example, they can teach music or any other language, or they can be a good writer. And they are also in demand. And they can do those jobs.
And if they know multiple languages, for example, they can be a translator. Or work at a gas station, maybe you think.
That also is possible. But for the 20-hour limit, it's easy for them to work in the stores, the cafe. Even some of the people, they give their dog for the walk.
Okay.
Even that they pay a few dollars.
Right.
Though it won't be 20 hours per week.
Yes.
And the timing would be an issue.
Yes.
Given that students want to study in the morning and only free in the afternoon or evening session.
Right, right.
So from that perspective, those jobs are also available. But they're much less in number.
Less in number and less in time wise also. If you're looking at filling up 10 to 12 hours at least out of the 20 hours if they're looking to fill it up. Also talk about the internships, etc. If they want to do something with a company, for instance, does that also fall within this 20 hours a week?
No, if they want to do an internship and it's part of the curriculum,
right,
then it's the full 1 year which they can do.
Okay, as a co-op program.
Co-op
Okay.
And they do get internships with the professors,
right,
as a research assistant, but that would be
on campus. And if they want to do like short internships with companies, not for the full year, but like a 2-month internship or a 1-month internship,
they can do during their summer and winter vacations.
Okay.
And during their spring break.
Okay.
Full time they can work
for 40 hours a week. Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Which brings me to my next question is, the kind of salaries that you think they would get, and which of these jobs, that you mentioned a lot of jobs to us, which of these typically would get a little more remuneration?
So the average per hour salary is about $11 to $12 with a minimum of 10.
Okay.
So predominantly that's where the range is.
Undergrad students would be there.
Students would be there.
Yes.
However, if you are doing editor or a writing job, or if you are doing as a music teacher, there the salaries are as high as $30 per hour.
Oh, that's not
bad. Because it's a specialty kind of thing. For students working in the bank as cashier, customer service representative or sales, the salary would be per hour salary would be much higher, about $14 to $15.
Nice.
And if they are working in different parts of Canada, they have different, for the same job, different ranges.
Okay.
Again, it depends, if it's a winter time.
Right.
Getting a job itself is difficult, given that people close shops and go home early.
Right.
So in the winter, there is less number of jobs.
Right.
Whereas in summer, they are much higher.
Right. In fact, that was the question I was going to ask you, is how easy, we put down the whole landscape of jobs in front of them. We've told them these are the salaries. But how easy is it actually to get these jobs?
Yeah, if you have some kind of a referral or a recommendation, the chance is very high. If you have worked on campus and then you take up off campus, the likelihood of you getting is higher. And if you know multiple languages, that does help in different parts of Canada.
So AGR, tell us, coming from that question, my next question to you is, which are the cities actually that most of these international students are going to?
Most of the international students frequently visit Vancouver, Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal.
Okay, these are also where some of the most popular universities are located.
Yes.
So these cities have different languages, and so looking at off-campus jobs,
right?
Could you lay that out for us? In these
sure.
four?
If you see Montreal, it's in Quebec. That region of Canada, French is the predominantly spoken language.
Right.
So if the students know French, it would really help them to get the part-time jobs much easier.
Especially off-campus jobs, you think?
Yes.
Knowing English and French would help.
Correct.
But in Toronto and Ottawa and Vancouver, you think?
English would be sufficient.
Would help.
Okay.
So before we cap the show, and you've given us such wonderful information, I'm going to put my last question to you. Do you have any other? So would you be able to give like your top 3 pieces of advice to the students going there?
Yeah. Well, the first advice would be to think long term. If they are planning for permanent residency over there, it would help for them to know the various stages.
Right.
And though they did not plan, they can start working, taking a co-op program, or doing a job and logging their hours of work. So thinking long term would help.
Right.
Second is, it's good to have the relationships, networking, because referral and recommendation is a very powerful tool for the same community of people working in Canada. And more importantly, you're going there to study. So have the study and work-life balance, which is very important. Yes. So enjoy while you study and work.
Yes, thank you so much. That was absolutely wonderful.
Yeah,
thank you for helping us.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much for being on the show, and I'm sure you've enjoyed all of this. And if you have any more questions that you want to ask AGR or me, put everything down in the comment section under the video, and we will respond to each one of you. And before you sign off, don't forget the subscribe button and the bell notification, and like us at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at ChetChat101. And happy watching!